Thank you, Mr. President. I somewhat agree with the Senator Coleman's statement from Kanawha just now. It was just outside this chamber the other day, we had our governor call not the Republicans or not just the Democrats knuckleheads. He called each and every one of us in here knuckleheads. You made a great point. And I'm glad you allowed me to segue into this by saying that. I was on the radio here not too long ago, and the first question they asked me, do you about the governor? Because he's come out with it was the following day after the State of the State where he campaigned on that there wasn't going to be any tax increases. He was going to go in and cut government. This was the surgery. And his comment over and over was, it's not hard. But I was asked if I was betrayed, and I said, no, I don't feel betrayed. I didn't vote for the man. If I voted for the man, I would have felt betrayed. I was disappointed. I was disappointed because his chief of staff, Nick Casey, was out saying that there was going to be $395 million to $606 million in cuts that was coming down the road out of the governor's office. That's what we heard. Understand, I have no problems with that many cuts. 606, I would have voted for it. And it's because of the fact that I understand that if we would have went out and made those cuts of the $606 million, what would have happened would have been that we would have had these agencies coming in and saying, hey, don't cut us that much. If you do this or you do that, we can live on half of that. But if we work from the other premise that we bring them in and ask for them, what can we do? What can you do? Well, I've witnessed this. Oh, we can't do anything. That's unacceptable. This governor needs to understand that. He's brought before us the largest budget that we've ever had. He's also brought before us the largest tax increase that we've ever had. And I can tell you right now, my vote is not going to be part of that. We can go in here and literally take, and keep in mind, the governor has the ability to go in and deal with these agencies with a scalpel and know where the savings are so that the people of West Virginia can actually say, wait a minute, that's a good idea. We needed to get control of how many state vehicles we have. The list goes on what we could have been doing, what the governor can do. We, on the other hand, are limited to 60 days. We have a macro approach when we go about doing things. It would take 600 days to do the job that the governor could actually do himself in 60 days because of how things are handled. Now look, I'm offended by his budget because I think, frankly, any 8th grader in the state of West Virginia could have put together that budget. It doesn't take a whole lot of work. If you're going to get ready and do nothing but tax increases and $26.6 million in reductions is actually insulting to this body and the one down on the other end of the building. Moody's downgrading us. Do you not think for a minute that Moody's didn't take an opportunity to downgrade us because of the comments and the behavior that we've received from our governor? I can tell you right now, I'm quite confident that played a role. Look, how can we go and expect our people in the state of West Virginia to take another 0.5% on the sales tax and 0.2% on the gross of every business, and a lot of businesses out here work on volume. Low profit, high volume. That one there in itself is not going to be $200 million. It could probably end up being $400 million when it's over and done with, to the cost of businesses in the state of West Virginia, which we're trying to bring here. And he wants to do that. Taxes do two things: raise revenue and deter behavior. And if you think for a minute that 0.2% is not going to deter the behavior, in other words, deter businesses from coming here to West Virginia or staying here in West Virginia or expanding here in West Virginia, you are sorely mistaken. This is coming from a guy on my newspaper today. Governor companies owe West Virginia $4.4 million. It's on your desk. The governor. This is front page today. The same man that is asking all the rest of us to do 0.2% on the gross. And it sounds little. It sounds like a little number. It's not a little number. If you do $1 million in sales, it's $2,000, and it applies across the board. It's a terrible regressive tax. I'm not done. I've been working because I feel that you can't stand up here and talk about reducing government unless you've actually attempted to work on some of that yourself. And I have a story I want to share in this chamber. In the very opening day that we were here, well, I got nailed by two members here because of the work that I've been working with on the osteopathic school and allowing them to flourish. Yes, there were some concerns out there on what happens to the property. I share those concerns. I tried to actually put that into the legislation, and I am malleable from that standpoint of correcting that legislation so it does address those concerns. If we would have given the osteopathic school the flexibility to travel a different course rather than being under the thumb of our state government, it had the potential to save the state $4 to $7 million a year in perpetuity without hurting them at all, in my opinion. That was the goal, let's put it that way. Clearly, the goal of that. And see, that's what calculators are for, ladies and gentlemen, is that you put the numbers in, you add them up, add them up, add them up. Now, the governor never called me or talked to me whatsoever on this, but he made the decision that he'd sent a telegraph message out from the very beginning, early. He was going to veto that legislation because basically it was in his backyard. Ladies and gentlemen, we all got something in our backyard that we're going to have to deal with. It went further than that, though. There was a board member that, the chairman of the board, I believe he is, name's Dave Rader, that the day before the confirmations committee was supposed to meet, Rader's name was actually withdrawn by our governor. Earl Ray had put him up, or excuse me, Governor Tomlin had put David Rader's name up for reappointment for the osteopathic board. The day before the confirmations committee meeting, and actually I think it was one day after the governor said that he was going to veto that bill if it ever made it to his desk, he withdrew Dave Rader's name. And I'm not so sure that he's even capable of doing that. Now, Dave Rader doesn't live in the state of West Virginia. He lives in Florida. But Dave Rader was one of the men that helped take us from a state-owned system of workers' comp to privatizing workers' comp, which has been phenomenally good for the state of West Virginia. It just goes to show that the state has no business being in insurance business, period, across the board. That should lead us on a path to going through and dealing with all these other ones that are out here. Whether it's PIA, and the list goes on and on. Our pension system, we need to be out of that game, in my opinion, humble opinion. Rader, though. Noticed I said Florida. Florida. The state that doesn't have any income tax. The same newspaper front page that's on your desk today. An unscientific poll. Would you like to see the state's income tax eliminated? 70% yes, 30% no. That's a message to you, Senator. You're on the right path. The tax reform that we need in the state of West Virginia to give people the pay that they deserve and the job opportunities they need are taking place right now with your select committee on tax reform. It is a good thing happening. And make no mistake about it, it'll never ever happen if we were living in times of prosperity. You have to take these times of economic despair and look at the opportunities to be able to change what we do in this state for the people. And we are doing just that, Mr. President. We are taking this opportunity to move forward and do that. Make the structural changes for our state and for our people. To talk about the past, you just need to remember the behavior of the past, and that's it. And look to the future and give our people that opportunity. And the bill that Senate Bill 222 here this morning, I believe was the number. I am totally supportive of that bill. And the reason for it is that 80% of businesses are non-union businesses, but those are the people, the businesses, are who pays the unemployment. Not the employees. The businesses do. The taxpayers don't do it. They would only loan them the money to keep it afloat. So, and that fiscal note proved that it needed to be done. And it could be worse than that, depending on which company has got striking workers, whatever. Now, if they're locked out, I'm all in favor. That's different. They should deserve unemployment. But those of us, like my business and the 70% of other small businesses in the state of West Virginia, say, good for us, because we're the ones that are subsidizing it. It's our tax dollars. Or not tax dollars, but our profits that go into that to pay the unemployment for the employees. I'm going to go one more step, then I'm done. You want to save $75 million? It's real easy. Shepherd College is the lowest funded four-year institution in the state of West Virginia. Now hear me out on this, because you're right when you're shaking your head, no, but you're also wrong. And the reason for it is that we're going to look at it as per student funding. We've actually got 2 or 3 schools in this state that have lower school population than what any high school does in Berkeley County. 3 of them. But Shepherd gets $3,087 per student in funding. West Virginia University, $3,621. Marshall is $3,986. Bluefield gets $4,690. My argument would be, and Shepherd's not in my district, but it's from the Eastern Panhandle. I'm not coming here asking for more money for Shepherd or Blue Ridge, and Blue Ridge is the third largest state in the union, or in the school, or in the third largest school in the state. But I'm saying, why don't we just take everybody else's funding level down to what they're getting at Blue Ridge and Shepherd? And if you do that, there's your money. Otherwise, then should we not be funding Shepherd and Blue Ridge up to the levels of the rest of the state? I'm just saying where the money's at. And if we did this with higher ed, I'm quite confident that they'll come to us. I've already got one piece of legislation in the pipeline that will give us the flexibility to take the thumb of government, our state government, off of our higher ed and two-year institutions, no different from what I was trying to do with the osteopathic school. Because it is, without a question, a shining star in our state. But we can no longer afford this, and we can't go to the well and ask our taxpayers for more money when they can't afford it now, including our governor. Thank you, Mr. President.